Okay,
Yeah.
this one is
Oh, done.
okay here.
Hello, and we're live. Hello, 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 hello. How's it going? Okay, I know it's been a while since I've come live and I've done anything on YouTube per se, but today I'm here with some of the two of the most motivated, two of the most amazing women that I have had the pleasure of knowing. And yeah, we are here to talk about reading, writing, book marketing, and I have a lot of questions for them, and I'm hoping that they will answer all of these questions, and you will find something useful in this live as well, so keep watching. So let me introduce you. First of all, we have the two ladies from Writers Melon. First up is the founder herself, Priyanka Purkayastha. Hi, PP. How's it
Hi,
going?
hello. All good. Thanks for
Hello,
inviting,
hello.
Sonali.
My absolute pleasure. And then we have Writers Melon's editor in chief, Priyanka Roy Banerjee. Hey, PRB,
Hi, Sonali.
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thanks for the live. Let's see what we can talk about.
Oh, there's a lot that we are going to talk about. I have a lot of questions for you, and I hope that the people who are watching will find some use in it as well. And I'm sure they will. Okay, so since I have so many questions for you, let us start off with at the very beginning. Okay, first up, both of you are book lovers too. I know, since I've known you for the past what, 7 years, I think that's a long time,
Yeah.
and I sort of know what your tastes are like by this time. But you are book lovers too, which is obviously how Writers Melon came to be. But how did this whole journey start? Tell us about your love for books and how it actually contributed to the inception of Writers Melon. Pipi?
O- Okay, so it
Yeah.
was actually many more years ago that I started Writers Melon before we met as well. So it was always there in my mind to do something. It's so I'm a kind of person who's super restless, who cannot do one thing. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad. I'm pretty much like jack of all trades, queen of none or very few. So for me, Writers Melon was one such experiment, I can say, one such
Hmm.
experiment online, trying to make money online, trying to make some meaningful content online. So I was just exploring this whole space. The moment I created my Facebook account, I also created a Facebook page. So I was like, I'm always like a very, very curious person. I want to know everything. I want to explore the whole online space. So that is how Writers Melon started. There was no specific moment that I can remember apart from, just getting inspired from the watermelon in a very summery afternoon in Mumbai. And while I was going through the usual corporate grind, I was reading a lot of books. And something that I picked up very late in my adulthood, I would say, I have not been a very ardent book reader from childhood, which I think is slightly different from what PRB is. She's a much more evolved reader than I am. She reads a lot of literary fiction. So my reading journey was like very basic. I started with Chetan Bhagat and the basic, how to win friends and influence people, those kinds of very basic nonfiction books. But I realized the power of books, and that I felt was very immense. And my, the
Hmm.
whole curious mind that I was. So that is how I started Writers Mill in 2009. And I was just doing it like a blog, just for fun. And I started making some money out of it. Some interests publishers were showing. Publishing business was also like going through a major change. The whole English literary fiction was as in the whole space was getting revived. Now it was no longer just those Booker Prize winner kind of a literary space. It was getting more pop culture, I would say. And that is how it
Hmm.
all started. And I saw some potential in this, although I was doing it with my job. And then I met PRB when it was 2013. I remember
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
floating a Google form, and people who want to work with Writers Melon were just filling that Google form. And PRB was one of them. And we just discussed. And And I think before joining Writers Melon, she also had some content related venture. She was also trying out different things.
I was doing some freelance, and I was also a blogger since 2007. So
Yes.
I was doing
Wow.
book reviews actively in 2000 from 2012 and 13.
Yeah.
So that's how
Oh,
I found Writers Melon in the
Yes.
blogosphere, like the way they used to call it in
Yes. Yes.
2012 or
Yeah. I
13.
mean,
Yeah.
it's with PRB, what I can say, this Rumi's quote is so apt, what you seek is seeking you. So I was kind of seeking her or her kind of a person, and she was also seeking something like Writer's Melon to contribute. So
it
that's a
shows
very.
the way you both click with each other. It really shows.
Yes.
So I
So
think
it's a
it's
very,
also
yeah,
the
it's a
best part.
very complementary relationship. She is kind of the heart or the soul of Writer's Melon. I'm kind of the brain, and I try to give it some direction, give it some meaning, because it's very hard to sustain an online business in the
True that.
publishing space. In the publishing space, it's very
Correct.
difficult. So that's how it all started. I mean, starting up has its own fun. It's like first love, but then when you have to scale your business, when you have to sustain it, it's like marriage, where you have to really put in a lot of work. so
Oh
so
God,
i
that's so
think
true.
so I think we are now at that stage where the honeymoon period is kind of over. It's so that whole excitement, that novelty factor, which it was when it was like 2013 and early 2014, 15, I would say there was a novelty factor. I mean, it was one of its kind in the market, I would say. The brand had a very interesting ring
Correct.
to it. So, and we were also not really the face of the brand. Brand was more important than what we were individually. But now I would
Right.
say it's pretty much like at its peak, where we really need to steer it. We really need to put in a lot of effort, and especially the whole dynamics is so different. The whole
With
content
social
space
media. Yeah.
with social media,
It's
the
changed a
whole
lot
book.
since then.
Yes,
Yeah.
the whole book scene is like so different now, with so much content available all
Yeah, I
around.
think some of our readers now,
True.
they cannot even imagine that there was an era when there was no Instagram, there was no Bookstagram. So we come from
Correct.
that era.
Correct. Correct.
There was
Yes.
no
Yeah,
Bookstagram then. There
Agree.
were blogs, and there was
yeah,
maximum you could share them on Facebook. That was all.
yeah. We come from the
Facebook was like the
blogspot
big
wala
thing at
blog.
that time.
Yes, we
Oh
come from the
yes.
Yeah.
blogspot wala blog, not even the WordPress wala
Same.
blog, you
Agree.
Yeah.
know?
I'm with you on that. Yes. It have
So that
changed
feels a
so
bit
many
old.
times. Like the melodramatic bookworm too, as such, has changed so many times. It was never the melodramatic bookworm. It was something completely different. I The names of those blogs are so corny now. I cringe when I think of them, and I'm just glad to be here in this moment right now to be the melodramatic bookworm. But
I
yes,
mean,
PRB, tell us your
I have
sorry.
followed through your journey, Sonali, like writing, giving
Yes.
up your IT job. I mean, some of those decisions or some of those, steps, that road less traveled, as you say, that you have taken
Yeah.
is really appreciable. So what you have done with
Thank you.
Melodramatic Book Lover is great. And I think it is also one of my inspiration to do some work on YouTube, although I'm not sure how much I'm going to sustain this. This is a completely new experiment from our
Fingers
side.
crossed, we'll go. We'll get there. We'll get there. And we'll take Writers Melon forward together. We'll do it. Yeah, but for that, there's a different announcement coming. So keep your eyes and ears open. So I'll be talking about it later during this live or some other time. I'll make an announcement. But PRB, tell us about your journey with Writers Melon. How has it been being the editor of Writers Melon and having and doing all of this collating, uh, you know, book related stuff every single month and getting out uh, new books, and different articles for readers to read. How has been your experience so far?
Yeah, it has evolved a lot since the Blogspot days. I mean, it was much easier to maintain a Blogspot or a WordPress blog and then just do all the work in there because I was quite familiar with both of the platforms. But with our new
Hmm.
website and then all the social media thing, like what I used to do is communicate over emails, and that would work very well during those days. But right now, everything is probably on Instagram, so you have to like,
Yeah, she hates Instagram DMs. She's like, why can't
yeah,
people
I
just
mean,
reply on
who
emails?
too many DMs to like follow and reply and catch up with, and I mean, it so
But
happens
that's
that people are more active on Instagram messages than emails. I mean, they don't check
Yeah.
their emails, or even
correct.
if they check, they don't reply, but they're very active on
Yes.
Instagram. So yeah, so
But
those
that's a good
kind of
sign,
things have
right? When
changed.
if so many
I'm
people
not
are
sure.
DMing you on Instagram, that means you're doing
Honestly, I'm
something
also
right.
not
Yeah,
sure. I mean, I
yeah,
love the emails. Yeah. I mean, emails
yeah.
are
See,
like such
emails are easier
novelty.
to keep up with. So anyone listening, I mean, if you want to work
No.
with Writers Melon, or if you're already working with us, please reply to emails
We're
and please
faster
check
on
your
emails than
emails.
on DMs, actually.
Yeah, we come from that era. We can't help it. I mean, we are more used to emails than social media. I mean, it's
Oh,
really not possible to be logged on to Instagram the entire day. I mean, the younger
Yeah.
generation does it, but yeah, it's a bit difficult for us. So, but
that's
otherwise,
true.
I think the content space, it hasn't changed much. It's still
Hmm.
good content, that and good books definitely that make it work. So yeah, I try to go through the new releases every month and pick up the books that are super interesting and super relevant to this generation, or even for our generation or the older ones, anyone. So we try to recommend those books on Writers Melon, so you can check those books on our website. You can go through their blogs, you can go through the writers, and you can follow us and you can follow them, and then you can decide if you want to read those books, if you want to buy those books. So I think that's what we are trying to reach to the readers that way, that getting the new release books to all the readers via
Hmm.
our websites and our social media. So that's the main goal, I'd say.
Right. Okay, if you had to describe Writers Melon in one word, what would it be?
Who are you
Just
asking?
one word. Both of you. Anybody who wants to take this first.
Just one word.
Book lovers.
Just one word.
Yeah, book
Book
lovers.
lovers is two words.
Books
I'm a
then.
stickler. Sorry.
Yeah, books then.
Read.
Just for
I would
Yeah.
say
books.
read.
I'd say
Read.
books.
Both
Just
of them
read,
are
whatever.
perfect because,
Just read.
yes.
Everything about books, yeah. Read them, buy them, write
Yeah.
reviews, do anything with books.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. 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 Okay, so we've learned about how Writers Melon started, how PP brought Writers Melon to life, and all of that. But there's also a long journey to go in Writers Melon's, lifespan. So, PP, what do you see in Writers Melon future? What dreams or goals do you have from it, and how much have those dreams changed since you started Writers Melon?
So, so one thing about dream that I would like to say, though it sounds a bit romanticizing or fantasizing, that dreams are the ones which you actually see when your eyes are open and not when your eyes are closed, right? So for
It's
me,
true.
Writer's Melon is that. So I keep my eyes open. I know that it's a very, very dynamic space. I know
Hmm.
that we are not a big funded company like an Amazon. So for us, the only way to survive is through innovation, through passion, and and with a very different mindset. I don't think anybody other than PRB or anybody other than me could have run a business like Writers Melon. So it's a very different mindset that you need to make a business like this. It has to be a lot of love and passion for the space and for the work we do. So, in terms of dreams, obviously, when I created this whole self managed portal where I wanted to automatize everything, automatize the whole book review process, the whole interaction between a reader and the author, I wanted it to scale immensely because I don't think any entrepreneur, any online entrepreneur would build something which cannot be scaled, which is not scalable. So, in my
True.
head, the numbers are very big, so the numbers are in millions. But when I
Hmm.
see the reality, when I see the reality, I can see that it is also a very fine balance of quality versus quantity. So in my head, so I have to constantly wear these two hats. One is to chase these numbers that I have in mind as an entrepreneur, and the other is the quality that keeps the brand authentic, that keeps it relatable, believable, and genuine. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, even if we are promoting books, we want to promote the culture of reading. So I come from a marketing background. I know how a marketeer would sell anything and everything. Today, if you look at a hair care product, there are so many of them. You don't even need half of them. You have a mask, you have a serum, you have a conditioner, you have a shampoo. You have so many things, right? So there are very few people who are thinking like this about books. you know
Hmm.
so, and for any creative space, I would say. So what
True that.
so in my head, I feel that I am in a way like a catalyst who needs to balance this whole creative aspect as well as the business aspect of Writers Melon, of this industry or this space that I am in. So my goals and my dreams change in that way, depending on which hat I'm wearing right now. If I'm wearing the hat of a book lover or a reader, for me, it's important that what PRB is recommending, or the authors that I'm interviewing, or the books that we are reviewing are top class, are really good, that we are able to give a honest opinion about it, and the book is leaving us with a wow factor.
Right.
But when I'm looking at the number aspect of it, be it the financial numbers or the user base or the visibility, reach, I mean, there are hundreds of metrics that you can
Yeah.
benchmark yourself at.
And they are
So,
very dynamic. I mean, with the evolving social media platforms, even the book industry is very it's gone very dynamic right now. I mean, we would never have thought about people reviewing books on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok even, but it happens now, and it reaches to a lot many more people,
yeah,
and most of them might even go and buy the book, so it helps in book sales as well.
yeah.
But we didn't know about this even 4 or 5 years ago. But so it's evolving now, and in 2 or 3 years, it might be some other platform, some other channel, something else.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. So we
How do
have
you
to
think
evolve
that is
ourselves.
affecting this whole book buying tendencies of readers? Like Bookstagram, Book Twitter, or right now Book Talk is everywhere. Like I mean, it's not there in India
Yeah.
since we know it's been banned, but uh, everybody is on. It seems like everybody apart from us Indians are on Book Talk, and everybody is doing recommendations, short video recommendations, and the like over there. So how do you think this affects readers' book buying tendencies, not just about what readers read, but about how they buy books?
I
It's a
would say
difficult.
buying book is a very different kind of a decision. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the real book lovers who like read books like really crazy are not the ones who would consume so much social media content. I mean, that's my opinion. They would
Hmm.
rather spend a lot of time on their Kindles or in a bookshop or in the books than they would spend listening to a book talk. That's my opinion. Okay, but
Hmm.
but I feel those who are still at the fence, who are still not there, who are like me, for example, who I was when I started Writers Month. I was not a reader. I did not read even a book, even one book in the entire month, or it was like a very, very sporadic reading habit that I had. So I look at this social media as an opportunity to convert or to motivate these people, because a book talk or a book review video is not a substitute of reading a book, right? Or
Hmm.
buying that book, going
Yeah.
and giving your attention. I mean, you would go to a Starbucks or any other place and eat, let's say, 250 rupees pani puri, bhel puri, or a Starbucks coffee. But if you have to go to a bookstore and buy a book of that money, it would only be those who genuinely like to give their headspace and their wallet space to books, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
social media is I mean, it's crazy, as in, it has its good things, it also has its negatives. I mean, I have
True that.
tried to
Yeah.
explore or exploit the positives as much as I can do for myself personally. But I don't know it
Hmm.
about the other people. I think for a 20-year-old, it is
Yeah.
hard to make a choice between a Netflix series versus picking up a book, even if it is as basic as how to win friends and influence people, right? I mean, I don't know, it must be a tough choice if they don't have the habit. And in India, unfortunately, we don't have this habit. I mean, I have grown up reading barely any non-academic books. I have literally spent the first 20
Hmm.
years of my life barely reading any non-academic books. I mean, I remember very few, like a Sidney Sheldon or maybe a Famous Five or something. I mean, I was not this was not a habit. This was not a regular thing. So this is
But
what I want.
availability has become better, right? Right
But
now
there
in
are
India, like when we were kids, it was like libraries didn't hold much except for maybe some comics like Tinkle or Champak or Chacha Chaudhary. All these used to be there, but you wouldn't get the kind of books that are available for sale right now. Like in some cities, we don't have bookstores. We don't. India mein libraries, there are no libraries at all. Almost no libraries, unless you go to big city or something. Even that I have no idea. But for cities like Hyderabad, where I am in, you hardly find any bookstores as well. But still, it's become easy to buy books.
Yes,
So
availability
how
could
does
be a
that
factor.
affect?
Yes,
no, but there
availability
are
could
two
be a
kinds of
factor,
consumers right now. I mean,
but
one
habit is
kind
a
of
bigger,
consumer.
yeah, habit is a bigger challenge, I think. Not, and it always has been a bigger challenge because reading a book requires a lot of your commitment and your concentration. you know I think
Correct.
maybe in the olden times the availability was minimum, but even the distraction was minimum. So it was
Oh,
still a game
true.
between availability and distraction. Now availability is massive, but distraction is even massive. So at any
Yeah.
given point
Correct.
in time, building up a reading habit is very, very
Hmm.
difficult. Is very difficult, even now or even in the past. Even in the past, when availability was limited, it was difficult to build a habit. Even now it's difficult to build a habit. So for me, Writers Melon was like a personal goal or a personal challenge that I need to increase my reading capacity. I need to read more books. I really need to discover or explore more books, and this was a way of doing it. So I had a lot of selfish personal motivation also to start and continue Writers Melon. So it is that it is that for me.
Yeah. PRV, what's your take on this? Like availability, distractions, वगैरह वगैरह.
No, right now I see there are two kinds of consumers in terms of books. Like one kind of
Hmm.
consumer whose attention span is very less, and they are the kind of people that you are saying they watch those book talk videos, and they read those those very short reviews online or somewhere, and they consume that much, just that much content from the book. So they know the name of the book, they know that book is about this thing, but they
Hmm.
haven't read the book. They don't have the attention span or the commitment to invest that much time to read the book, or even to buy the book and then read it. So, and there's
Right.
the other kind of consumer who will definitely buy a book and then read it, and they will spend that much kind of money or time, both, behind one book. So they are those kind of people who don't read hundreds of books a year, but they will invest their time behind a book, and they will read it, and they'll review it or not, whatever, but they at least know about everything about the book.
What? Right.
So right now, even in this age of availability that you're saying, there are these two kind of consumers. And the thing is, for the first kind, you have to really motivate them to go and read a book that's more than 100 pages long. So
That's
we
true.
are trying to do that. We're trying to recommend new books to them. We're trying to coax them to just go and pick up that book and read it. So I don't know if
Hmm.
it's working, but maybe we have to keep trying to do that. And for the second kinds of consumer, we have to ask them to share their feedback on social media. I mean, they are those kind of people who read books and then forget about it. Okay, that book is in my bookshelf, I've read it, I know all about it, but I haven't shared anything about the book
Hmm.
to other people, other readers or non-readers. So you have to it's an opportunity to work with both the kind of book consumers.
Right. There's also a third kind, by the way, who also reads books, who also buys books, thinking that I will read it someday, and then the book lies on their bookshelf for ages. And that
I'm
third
fine
kind is
with
me.
I'm
They're the
fine
good
with
kind of buyers. They're the
I
good
think
kind
they're
of
good.
buyers. These
I
are
think
buy
they're good.
books. Yeah,
They're doing good for the business at
What?
least.
What?
yeah,
They're good for the
Huh.
business.
yeah. At
See,
least
I'm
they're buying the
doing
book.
both. So
Yeah, because procrastination
it's
is
a way
something
to
that
feel
all
good
of
about
us
myself.
yeah, procrastination is something that all of us are blessed with, right? We will take up that gym membership, but we won't
Blessed.
visit the gym. Yeah, so there are those things. So that for that we have to wait for something. But I think at least the first step has been taken, right? At least you're buying the books, and at the end of the day, they are not that expensive. It's okay. I mean, for me, I don't feel that guilty if I buy like 10 books and read five of them. I'm like, it's fine, you know.
It's okay. Like we
It's
have
okay.
so many options to read for a rainy day, right? So that's good for us as well as for the publishing economy
Yes,
or whatever.
yes,
But
yes,
PP has come out to, talking, putting truth bombs everywhere. But yeah, that's what we are here for anyway. So yeah, okay. Guys, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will take them at the end of the session. But okay, before we've learned so much about Writers Melon, we've learned so much about the book marketing industry as well as about reading habits, right? Reading habits as of now. So before we go into the next segment, we'll have a small rapid fire round, a very fun segment. A couple of these, I think I know what both of you will answer because I know to a certain extent your reading habits, but I still want to know. Um, okay,
You so
are you
sound
Is
like
ready?
there
Karan
is
Johar
there a
right now.
prize? Is there a prize or
Me? No,
hamper at the
please.
end of this?
No.
Yeah, no, she's not Karan Johar. You can't expect a prize.
She has
See?
a lot of books in
Thank you,
her
PRB.
a lot of books in
Yeah.
her bookshelf. I thought she will post some of
I
them
don't
here.
have a bookshelf here. I don't have a bookshelf. See? But okay. Uh, okay. We'll start with PP, then PRB will answer. Okay? Favorite genre
Self-help, spirituality,
Thrillers, drama.
on brand. Favorite book
Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
on my
For
TBR.
me, yeah, for me,
I didn't think much, so I just said whichever came on the
yeah,
top
it's a
of my
rapid fire. You don't have to think
Yeah,
much.
that's why it's like the top of my
Exactly.
head.
That's the whole point.
The Big Magic.
Okay, for me, it's an equal music by
Okay.
Vikram Seth.
Oh, okay. Favorite author? You're going through the favorites right now.
Elizabeth Gilbert. I
Agatha
love her.
Christie.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Agatha Christie.
Okay. Fiction or non-fiction?
Non-fiction.
Fiction. We are poles
I
apart.
knew it.
But I would want to
I
write
knew it.
fiction someday. I mean, that's crazy. I read non-fiction, but I want to write fiction someday. So
See, fiction is based. No, wait. Okay, let's not go on that track. I'm getting confused. Okay, Bookstagram or Book Twitter?
none. I mean, Bookstagram. I think Bookstagram. I
Yeah,
like Instagram.
Bookstagram. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much. Twitter is good to connect
Um,
with authors and yeah, with industry experts and
yeah,
stuff like
book Twitter is kind of really low now.
yeah,
So it's mostly advertisements. I think
yeah.
Bookstagram is much better.
And Book Twitter also gets very problematic sometimes. I find whenever I'm scrolling through,
There's less
there
scope
are a
of
lot of
expressing
authors
yourself.
being,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because of
yeah,
the character limits and everything. So
yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Instagram,
ebooks or physical copies?
ebooks,
both.
Kindle.
Ebooks
I
or
love my Kindle.
audiobooks?
Audible. I'm really loving Audible now.
Ebooks.
Okay,
I'm not comfortable with Audible, or I'm not comfortable with audiobooks as such because I kind of get lost. I mean, it's
okay,
difficult to
I
concentrate.
get that.
So ebooks, yes.
I was like that at the beginning. Like when I started off listening to audiobooks, I was like that. I would zone out. I would fall
Yeah,
asleep listening to audiobooks. But
Yeah, maybe
yeah,
if I'm reading a fiction or a big book, I would like to read it. But a lot of the self-help content and the spirituality content is very good on audiobook. So I haven't
yeah.
really read a
okay,
big fiction on Audible. So yeah.
oh, okay, okay. This might be a little different for PP because I know she doesn't read a lot of such books. But romance or thrillers?
Romance.
Thrillers.
I'm very Bollywood that way.
Who was it? Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes. I
same.
haven't heard
Sherlock
of
Holmes.
yeah, Sherlock Holmes.
PRB, you're supposed to choose Poirot.
No, I somehow connect better with Sherlock.
Belgian. He's Belgian.
So what? I wasn't born in Belgium. I live in Belgium now. It's fine.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke. Yeah, it's a
Yeah. So Sherlock.
stereotypical joke. Yeah. Okay. Last one. Book to movie adaptations or movie to book adaptations, and which one is your favorite?
Does the second one happen a lot? I think
Yeah,
it's the first one.
Not a lot, but it does happen.
okay. I
For
don't think
example,
I've
Love
read any.
Story, Eric Segal. That was a movie first, and then it became. I mean, and then he was commissioned to write the book.
I think book to movie would be better because I think for any
Yeah.
conceptual work, writing precedes the visual better. I don't know if,
Correct.
yeah, I can't tell. I mean, you could convert like a screenplay into a novel. I think that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think the other way around would be better.
it's easier to
Same.
I
flesh
think. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
story out
I
there.
think so. Yeah.
What are your favorite book to movie adaptations?
Book to movie.
Yeah.
Mm, I really like the movie adaptation of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It
Yeah.
was
I think
Oh,
crazy.
it's
okay.
yeah.
I think there was one adaptation where the amount of visualization that I could do while reading the book was much
Yeah.
lesser than what it was in the movie. I mean, the movie was like
Oh,
I
savage.
watched both the versions. I mean, the English version and the original version.
Yeah, the
So both of
yeah,
them
movie
were
was
amazing.
savage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the scenes they were like I was getting goosebumps. I think that was
Yeah.
not the case when I was reading the book.
that's an amazing adaptation then.
Yeah.
They can manage to do that. Okay. Okay. Now we've reached the end of the rapid fire. Uh, I'll ask you some more questions. Um, so first of all, I've known you for about how many? 7 years now. It's been like 7 years since I got in touch with you, and I've recognized both of you to be these restless, determined, motivated women, always thinking about what to do next, what comes next for Writers Melon, and how can I take it to the next level, and yeah, how to make Writers Melon better in all. So, what were the challenges that you faced while establishing Writers Melon, of having carried it throughout these years, having it be live, and how did you overcome all of them?
Okay, I think the number one challenge was to coping up with the technology. Okay, I think
Hmm.
neither of us are very, I mean, are not like core tech people. So we are always missing that part in Writers Melon. So we really, feel that if we could code better or if I could code better, it would have been
Hmm.
better. So there's one challenge. The second is, I think that's true for any business in India, especially in India,
Hmm.
is the trust, to build a trust. Because books, publishing, authors, they are at a different intellectual level altogether, So for them to trust you with their creative product, for someone like Harper Collins or for some these big publishing houses like a Westland or these big authors to come to us with their books and telling us, okay, help us reach more readers,
Hmm.
it needs a lot of trust. And I think that is the biggest challenge, and that is my primary focus. So I am available no matter what, no matter where am I am available for the people who want to work with us. So I'm saying more from the publisher side, more from the supply side. And the same thing with PRB, she's always available from the influencer and for the blogger side. So she really manages that. And that also is a challenge, to
Yeah.
motivate people, maintain their expectation. I mean, she can elaborate it further. So this is this people and their expectation management. Sometimes authors or somebody would look for the moon, they would want the moons, but it's not possible
True.
for us to deliver it all the time. So to maintain that trust, to make sure that we are kind of reaching the expectation or helping them build realistic expectations. If you are a new author, if you have just written a book which is not even, which is, probably you have just put it up on KDP or a very simple, which is not even been edited by a professional editor, you can't expect it to just fly off the shelf. even if you like hire
Hmm.
a book lovers community like us. So setting up that expectation is crucial. And the other thing is, I would say, to cut through the clutter, because content has exploded in the last few years. It is obviously one of the best business to be in, because your input is your creativity, or so it's a very great business to be online, to be in the
Hmm.
content business. It's the thing to do, I would say. But cutting through the clutter and understanding these algorithms is a different challenge altogether. So I think it takes a lot of your creativity and your energy, just trying to understand these ever changing algorithms and this whole space. So yeah, I mean, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you stay authentic? Because half of the time, I think in the content business, you're just plain boring, right? I mean, I don't know, how do you capture attention of people? I mean, I get very restless, like you always said, like you already mentioned. I mean, sometimes I feel that the content production of Netflix is slower than my consumption, because after some point, I find you don't have anything good for me to watch. What am I going to do? Because I'm that restless. And I'm sure that happens with books. I'm sure that happens with people who are very much on Instagram. I mean, they will follow you
Hmm.
one day and the next day they will unfollow you. Two posts and such
Easy.
boring
Yeah.
posts. I mean, what the hell are you doing? So trying to stay constantly relevant and interesting, I think is a big challenge. But what I've learned from there is consistency is the key, which I think
Hmm.
PRB can elaborate further, because that consistency is your make or break in this content business. If you're consistent, then you'll survive. If you're not
Correct.
consistent, whatever good
Hmm.
content you produce, like, I would say the best marketing for your book, for your first book, is to write your second book or the third book. You
Correct.
cannot write 20 bad books. If you write 20 books, you will be popular at the end of the, I mean, people will start reading your books, but for that you have to write 20 books. So that goes with any that's a formula for any content business
Correct.
to survive you know
Hmm.
so those are the challenges, and those are really,
Yeah.
really, I mean, nerve wracking
I
challenges. I
think
mean,
social media is one big challenge, has been a big challenge
In
for us,
itself,
because
yes.
you need to evaluate the trends, and you need to keep up with the trends and make your content relevant uh, according to the trends. And then just so what it was a few years, even a decade ago, was that there's a book, there's a new release book, so you buy it, or you just check it out, and then you read it, and then you forget about it, or you talk with it with your friends, you talk about the book with your friends. But now it has become relevant to post it on social media, otherwise you stand cancelled, because then
Oh,
you have to let people know that you've read it. So yeah, so even we have to like strategize our content according to that kind of an influencing atmosphere that social media
yeah,
is right now. So that, and
that's
definitely
true.
keeping up with the tech uh, in
It
terms
changes
of
so
how.
fast.
Yeah,
Like it's a lot of
yeah,
effort to actually keep up with it, because today if I'm doing something, in a week it's going to be
yeah,
something else is going to be out there on social media, and I'll have to think ki acha chalo ye I have to use this now to make my content relevant.
yeah,
So if you're not going to do that, people are going to forget that something like this exists, a corner of the internet like this exists. So yeah,
yes,
I totally get what you're
yes.
saying
and
about.
and I think another challenge, which is like an elephant in the room that nobody talks about in the content business, is the money. you
Oh,
know because how do you sustain something without getting paid for it, right? I mean, you would totally relate to it. I mean, it's just so difficult.
I have a
And I
lot
think
to
it's
say on this subject really,
and it's a
but
cycle. It's a
yeah,
cycle. The
correct.
thing is that authors are writing the book. If the books are not selling, they're
Hmm.
not making any money. If they don't make any
Hmm.
money, they would not promote it, or there are
Correct.
very few one night successes, or the things that have just you know e- exploded without putting thousands and
Any effort.
millions of dollars behind it. So that is the problem nowadays. If you don't have a big bucks supporting you, pushing you, it is tough. It is hard. I mean, for all the influencers who have millions of subscribers, I'm sure they're authentic, they're creating great product, but somehow most of them have figured out that how the money flows in the whole system, and that
But
is
they're also
something.
churning out too much content. I think at times they're doing just too much of it. I mean, they post something and then there are hundreds or thousands of likes in it, and the
Because
next day
that's
they
what the
post something
algorithm
else, and
that's what the
yeah,
algorithm is doing to you. That's what the algorithm is doing to you. It's
It's not
just.
just about it's not just about algorithm actually. The whole point is, if you, like we were talking about earlier, consistency is key. So if you skip posting on any particular day, and if by chance they don't have any idea or they don't have any video for that uh, particular day, then their content is going to be pulled back. YouTube is not going to take that channel to recommend to people because they are not consistent. On one particular day they did not post, so it's the algorithm
Yeah.
working this
yeah.
So you
on the
have to play
whole
by the rules.
thing.
You have to play by the rules. If you are in the
But
game, you have to play by the rules of the game, which is okay for me. I'm saying that
hmm,
there is just so much of it happening without any thought about the financing part of it. I mean, if
correct.
I was if I was an 18-year-old living with my
Hmm,
parents, I can do 5 videos a day. If I don't have to do
correct.
anything else, I can keep doing
Correct.
it for 5 years without making any money. And then let's say I make start making some money, and then I can. But that luxury everybody cannot have. Is what I'm saying. Everybody cannot have that luxury. So that
Correct.
advantage, that unfair advantage that you
Hmm,
have in a business, that is true for anybody, right? I mean, let's say if Bill Gates was not born in that particular time, in that particular place, getting exposed to all the cutting edge computers, he wouldn't have been able to build Microsoft, for
correct.
example. So the same thing is there for any business, even for the content business, is where does the money come from for that business? And most of the startups that you see nowadays, even if they are the content startups, they have so much money to burn. They are burning more than they are earning, right? Much more than they are earning.
Hmm,
And
correct.
that is not possible for every content creator. That is possible for only few who either have a secured bank balance, or there are people to take care of their basics, and who are
Correct.
able to take that risk. So any business will
Hmm,
come with its own share of risk and returns. But for content business, it's even harder to make money. If you're selling things, there is a transaction happening. In content, everything is about views and the visibilities, and all of that can be pumped up, faked up.
Yeah.
You cannot fake your sales figure, but you can do that with visibility. I mean, I can buy 10 fake accounts and pump up the visibility or the reach or impressions of my post. I can't do that in a product business where I'm selling stuffs. So that
right.
that that is very scary, and that is actually the biggest challenge of running a content business. You have to keep your head down and keep working on that. So that's challenging.
Yeah, that's what even I found, that especially for creators in India, we don't have the backing that people in other countries have. For example, maybe if you look at the US, you have platforms like YouTube and Netflix calling booktubers. When any book to movie adaptation releases, they ask them to do reaction videos and the like. And I get that it is like a primarily English speaking country, so it will take creators and it will ask them to do all of this stuff. I get that whole point. But Indian readers they are not a small bunch. Like, we are a lot. So I just
I
think
think
that if the
it
bigger
also.
platforms also do a thing, like, because there's a segment on YouTube called BookTube where all the big YouTubers from that country, they get together and they have discussions and etc. They were The first one was with Michelle Obama. So imagine the kind of eyeballs that will get. So if you
Mhm.
do the same thing over here, even if
Yeah,
it's on a basic minor scale, it would bump up the content creation industry with, I mean, so much. Like, it just needs a leg up, which we are not getting.
Yeah, I
And
think in India,
publishing as a whole also, yeah, as
Bollywood
publishing as
gets
a
that
whole also, it doesn't.
advantage.
Yes, exactly.
so as a culture, I think as a culture, we after a point we don't respect artists that much. I mean, that might sound a
That's
little
true.
cruel. But honestly, I mean, I live in Berlin and I see here the amount of respect that an artist or an author gets. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember me and PRB, we had gone to the Frankfurt Book Fair, And just to
Mm-hmm.
attend a book signing event of Dan Brown, there was a 25 euro ticket to
Yeah.
just
Wow.
enter the book signing, a book launch. I mean, in India, unless and until you are getting a TV actress or a movie actress, or you're doing it in a mall, that too in an open, like some tamasha is happening, you will not get people coming in, right? For a
That's
new
true. Yeah.
author, or even if
Yeah.
for a best-selling author. I mean, how many readers would, let's say, forget buying that book? How many of them would actually visit an author or show that kind of fandom here in India? Very, very
Not
few
many.
readers. I mean, and that too, it half of the people who would appear in that book launch would not even know what the author has written or what the book is all about. They might have gone to maybe see Kangna Ranaut or some actress more. So I'm saying the art or the book is not the biggest hero here. There are other
Hmm.
jingbangs that are going around, which
Yeah.
which is getting so much attention, but not, whereas the book or that author should be the hero, right? Should be the hero. Even in movies, when you say, when books have been adapted, how much respect does the author get into it? They don't. They don't. Whereas the whole thing has come from their mind. It was their creation. They're like the creator of that whole movie. But how much credit or how much popularity does the writer get? It's very,
I
very
mean,
less. So
you see
That's
online
exactly
portals in
why.
India. You see online portals in India. They cover every movie premiere, every web series launch, or whatever, and you see those news snippets and those posts on social media. But how many do you see for every book launch?
Exactly. That's
I don't see
exactly
much.
why we need backing. That's exactly why we need backing. That's exactly why we need a leg up, because we don't get all of this.
Yeah,
If we had that sort of push um, from the
from the
financiers or
industry.
whoever we are
But
talking
yeah.
about, then
Sonali,
we would
From the
then
publishers as well.
probably.
there has to be a culture
Yeah.
change, first of all. No, I mean,
Yeah.
there has to be a culture of reading. There has to be a culture of
But where will you
appreciating
start?
books. It will
But
start from
where
the
will you
basic.
start?
It will start from a basic appreciation
Yeah,
for
I think the
for art.
culture of appreciating is more important than the culture of reading. I mean, even if you read less, you could at least appreciate the writer or the
No,
effort
that
that
I
has
get.
gone behind each book.
The awareness, so to say.
That I get, but that's the thing, na. You can't go to every reader, every person, and do this. But
Yeah,
instead, if you are getting a platform, if you are getting some place, even if like 1,000 people are watching it, fine. If web series, okay, lakhs of people watch. If it's a book related show and 1,000 people are watching it, then that's good progress. So
Yeah.
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Ki,
So that's the
ऐसे
scale
step
you're
by step,
talking
it's
And
about,
you
right?
need
scaling.
the backing.
Exactly.
You need the backing of
Scaling
these
up.
big brands. Yeah, you need the backing of these
Hmm.
big brands, but then these brands also are running a business, right? They're not
Hmm.
seeing a sizable paying consumer. I mean, there is a sizable
That's
consumer base, but
that
there is
is the
not a
problem.
sizable paying
Yes,
consumer base.
correct.
On an average, the books in India
Hmm.
don't sell more than 2 to 3 thousand copies on
Yeah.
an average, and that's ruthless. The publishers are not making any
Correct.
money for those books. The authors are not making any money. It's just a ego boost for the creators, and then the consumers are barely caring about those books. Only the top 5 or 6 authors are able to sustain full time
Themselves.
writing for
Yeah.
themselves, and that's a big deal. I mean, if you look at West, I mean, the libraries, I'm sure there's a lot of government backing. There are libraries, there are free libraries.
Correct.
The kids are reading a lot,
Yeah.
a lot as compared to what we are doing in India. But so that's the whole culture change. That's the whole mindset change that we are talking about. The
Mhm. I mean,
Vicious
inclination to
cycle,
read.
seriously.
Vicious cycle, absolutely.
yeah, so I live in Brussels, and I've seen a very cute trend here that there are a few buildings, a few houses. So they have a little this kind of a bookshelf just outside their door. They leave about 5 or 6 books there, and it's
Little
written there
libraries.
that yeah, it's like a free thing. I mean, you can take a book from there, you can go home and
Yeah.
read that book, and you can either return that book or
Or
you can
give
return
another.
any, yeah,
Yeah.
give another book. Just go and drop it in that little bookshelf outside the door.
Yeah.
So
Imagine what will
people
happen
do
here
that.
in India.
Exactly.
I think
Can't even
somewhere it has to
imagine.
start. Somewhere it has to start.
It
I mean,
has
I'm
I
to.
fine
think
if
still
someone is
books.
just taking the books for free. I mean, I would say if there is a company which is able to give books for free, they should do. They should give books for free. They should
I
donate books
think
for
books
free.
on Delhi Metro is at least trying to do a bit like that, maybe.
Hmm.
So
I
they
think
should
Hmm.
in
start
a
it
way,
in
even
the other
Writers
cities
Melon is
as
trying
well.
to do that, right?
Yeah,
Even we are trying to do that. We are
yeah,
trying to
we are
Yep.
give
trying to
books
do
for
that, right?
free. We are giving you
Yes.
reward points. Just read.
Correct.
Just read the books, I
Yeah,
mean, and we are
Please,
hoping that after
please read.
after you get 10 or 20 books for free, either through giveaways or through review
yeah.
programs, maybe the 21st book you will go and buy yourself,
Mhm.
you know? So that is how
Like
That.
you.
we are giving out Amazon vouchers through our contest, through our prizes, through we are giving you reward points, so you can go and buy books with them. But obviously, we are not going to check if you're going to buy a fridge with that money, or you're going to buy something else with that money. But you can at least you have that
Yeah,
thing to
that's
buy.
the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. When Coca-Cola wants you to drink more Coke, they just give you a glass and you can just go and refill it as many times. So you
Refill.
form
Yeah.
an habit. If you do this every time, you form an habit, and after that, you can't leave drinking Coke. I wish
Yeah.
that kind of habit or that kind of addiction initiatives like ours could build for books. You know, that would be my way of looking at it. I think we have
Amazing.
been able to do
That's what
that
we need.
for a decade.
Yeah.
I think the biggest impact that Writers Melon would have had, which I feel very proud of, is that we have been able to
Create more
get people,
readers.
yes, create more readers. I mean, there's never a dearth of supply, so there's never a dearth of supply of great books, but there's always been a dearth of supply of great readers, or a big more readers, so that the demand has always been a problem, not the supply in
Yeah.
this case, unlike
Correct.
Netflix, where the demand
Hmm.
is here and the supply is down, especially in my case. But in terms of books, that's what I feel nowadays. If you have read 5 books, then you're just going and writing the next book, and you're like, okay, I have read so much book, now
Yeah.
I can write a book. I can become an author and I can write a book. So people are ready to write a book on that side. And there are so many authors who would proudly say that I have written a book, but I'm not reading that genre. And if you ask them like 5 books recommendation, it will be very hard for them to give. So that's sad. That's really sad. If
And
you're
they say it
not
very
able to,
confidently also.
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
not that into books, but I have written a
yeah,
book. So
I don't like reading
yeah, so
books. It just
that's
boils my
tough.
blood.
That's yeah, that's tough to manage. That if that's how if that's a great bigger part of the market, then it's going to be really challenging for everybody. For any business, it's going to be challenging. Be it a publisher, be it a platform like ours, it's going to be challenging.
Yes, so you can broadly say that our goal is to try and create more readers, try to inculcate that reading habit into people who are not that much into reading,
Yeah.
the way they say
Hmm.
it.
Okay. So we've talked about readers. Let's
Yeah.
talk about writers a little bit. Um, as you know, that the way I got in touch with you was because my book had was coming out at the time, and as an author who's taken the self-publishing route with all of my books for that, like I've done one novel and two short story collections, and all of them I've self-published while the story collections are on Kindle. But I wonder if the number of new writers that are emerging every day, do you think the ease of publication is for the better? Like you can just go to Amazon Kindle create, and you
Better
can
for quality or for the trade?
anything, both ways. I want to know what you think on
So
both
that's the answer.
levels.
It's not great for quality, but it's great for trade.
Trade.
Because you need, yeah, it's not great for quality, of course. You need
Correct.
to have well written books, you need to have well edited books. There is
Hmm.
only so much that you can do. If you are churning out books like a factory, then obviously the quality is going to get hampered. Tomorrow if you ask, okay, as Writers Melon, you can't do one post a day in Instagram, you have to do a post every 5 minutes. Obviously the quality
Horrible.
is going to be challenged, right? I mean, it is going to get hampered,
Correct.
compromised, you know but is it
Hmm.
good for the trade? Yes, the algorithms are saying that, and the same goes with the books as well. The algorithms are saying that if you have more books, then you will be able to sell more books, or probably you will have more readers in the market. So I see it that way. I mean, if there are so many books coming out, okay, at least somebody is writing, somebody is publishing, somebody is trying to sell it, so it's good for trade. But I don't know if it is good for art. I don't know if it's good for literature.
Right.
So
What's your thought on it, BRB? Like with so many new writers
Um,
coming out every single day, how do you think the reader can actually filter through all of it and choose something that actually appeals to them?
I think it's the egg and chicken question again. So, if there are so many books published every day, so many self-published books, so sorry to say, there's no quality check. I mean,
Hmm.
you can choose to upload your first draft on Kindle or any other platform, and that sells ebooks, and it will be accepted because there is no editor to check it. You know, there's no editor to
Right.
correct your spellings. Whatever you're doing through via the online tools. But I, I don't think editing can be automated that way. So you're just using the spell check tools and the other softwares that are there, and then you're uploading your manuscript. So there needs to be a human editor to suggest you that, okay,
This will
this
work
plot
better.
twist that you've written, yeah, it doesn't work with your story. You have to maybe change it a bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, sentence constructions that you need to also
Absolutely.
think about the reader and write it this way. It might
Right.
be grammatically correct, but might not be emotionally correct. It might not be sentimentally correct.
Right.
So
Right.
there's nobody to suggest those things. So yeah, the quality is a bit compromised. But then
Hmm.
again, as PP said, that you have more readers. Like, you can upload a single short story or as an ebook now, and
Hmm.
probably it will find more readers because it takes less time to read that short story. You can read it in
Correct.
10 minutes and it's done, and you can tell people that, okay, I've read a book today. But per
Hmm.
se, it's not a book, it's just one short story.
Just
I've
story.
seen, yeah, so there are quite a few people that we know who have published short stories on as ebooks, just one single
Right.
story or two stories in a book. So you can do these things very easily, and yes, you have more readers, but then again, that question comes that, is it good for the readers as well? Is it
Right.
creating a sustained reading habit in them, or is it going through again that same questions that, okay, it can be read in 10 minutes, it's like a Maggie noodles. So you have it as a snack and you're done for the day. So should
Read
it
it,
happen
forget
like
it.
that? Yeah, you read it, forget it, because most of for these short attention span readers, that's what happens. You read
Correct.
10 such short stories and then you forget, which doesn't
Hmm.
happen if you read a longer book. So
Correct.
yes, if you want to develop a reading habit, start reading with the short ones, but then
Yeah.
again, start and go read an entire book.
Yeah. I would say
How
if
do you choose? Sorry.
yeah, I would say if
Sorry.
you want to
Sorry.
build a writing habit or if you want to become a writer, you should start writing probably short stories first.
Yeah.
If
Correct.
that makes sense. But as a reader,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, you should try and explore as many different genres as possible to know which one you like or which
Yeah.
one you can read more.
But short stories are a good way to start reading, though. Short
Yeah.
stories and
Absolutely.
then
Definitely.
novellas
Absolutely.
and then
Absolutely.
novels. It's a
Absolutely.
good way to
And
inculcate a reading habit, which is what we are trying to do in the first place as well. So I think
Absolutely.
that's an easy way to recommend someone to who wants to start
yeah.
reading. That is.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this. How do you at Writers Melon decide which books you are going to put in the you know out to the reader in any particular month to your followers? How do you decide this, PRB? Like you do editors picks every month,
Yeah.
so how do you decide which books go
So
on that list?
yeah, I mostly go through the catalogs of the publishers that we know. Most of the publishers send us their catalogs for every month, and
Right.
try to find out the new release books. I read a bit about them, about those books, and if I know the book beforehand, that, okay, I know the author, or if I know how they write, and this is the next in their series, or I know what's coming next. So I try to read a bit about it, and then I try to see if it's firstly if it's relevant as a new release this month. I mean, if it's relevant for the readers. So, and I try to choose between different genres. So it's not just fiction, it's fiction, non-fiction, it's self-help, it's history. So I try to, like, make a, what how do you say, make a bouquet of books every month. It's like a flower bouquet where you have different kinds of flowers, and they're arranged together to give you
Right.
a, to give you a bouquet kind of experience. So it's kind of that way. So the editors picks are picked from those new releases every month. I think which should be very interesting ones and relevant ones. in these times that we live in. So because
Hmm.
there are really very good books coming out every month in India,
Right.
and yeah, outside India as well. So those are our
Great.
recommendations. If you follow Writers Mill, please do check those books, and if possible, buy them, read them. If you like the authors, if you like the book description, if you like the genre, just go and buy those books.
Yes, and PRB's recommendations are always on point, so you can
Thank you.
blindly pick them up.
Thank you.
Okay. So um, I we've seen so many changes in Writers Melon over the past however many years. It's changed color, it's changed format so much. How do you make this decision to switch around platforms or switch around the format of interaction or the format of community that you want to see on the website? How do you decide that? QP?
So a lot of it comes from the gut feeling, because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, it is a creative business. It is not like,
Right.
the decisions are not always necessarily driven by business, or the current trends. I mean, not every time we are following the current trends. Sometimes we are also very late to jump into the current trends, for example, YouTube. But most of the times, these decisions are driven by, is from my gut, my gut feeling, and and how we are personally. So I think,
Hmm.
like I said even in the beginning, that if it were not PRB as a person, or me as a person, Writers Melon would be a very different thing. So
Space. Yeah.
it's yeah, so it's very, so we and that I think is very important. If you're doing a content business, how authentic are you as a person,
Hmm.
and that will show through, that will show
Right.
through your content or your work. So how I decide is, I just be myself, and PRB just be herself, be as authentic as possible, be as genuine, honest about this as possible. It is not, obviously, not all the days are same. Some days you may feel super productive, super creative, like totally on the groove, like as if you are there to conquer the whole world. Some days are not like that. Some days you're just pure uninspired, or you're just bored,
Feel that in
or
my
you're not,
bones.
yeah, or you're not motivated. And that's exactly how it is. So we are
Hmm.
no robots, we are no algorithms, we are human
Correct.
beings. Behind this
Yeah.
watermelon slice that you see, there are humans who are working and creating and curating content. And that's how it is. So that's how the decisions are. They
Yeah.
are
Hmm.
driven
We
by gut
try to be
feeling.
transparent, and we would like our readers and reviewers and writers to be transparent as well. That's the reason we ask people to put up an honest review.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. So that this thing was always there in my mind. It doesn't have to be a marketing thing. So in fact, for a long time, I didn't even want to call it like a book marketing. I mean, that kind of makes it a bit shaky for me. So for me,
Hmm.
it is very important, not just for us to stay authentic, but also for the reviewers or the bloggers to stay authentic. I mean, and you can, and this is a big art of critiquing. The art of critiquing is also a very big responsibility. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that well. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it for all the books that I have read. So a lot of people wouldn't be able to do it, because it requires a different kind of a skill. So then, so that's what it is. It is very difficult
Right.
to review, to critique, and that is very important for the reviewers to keep in mind, to give an honest feedback, and not
Correct.
just trying to sell that book just for the sake of it. It is your
Hmm.
personal recommendation, your authentic review. Obviously it should not, and that's a very fine balance. It's a I mean, an author has put himself bare in that book. you know it is his piece of art. How do you
Hmm.
criticize it on its face without giving a constructive feedback, or without making it logical? I mean, if there are loopholes in the plot, you should be able to tell it, and the author should be
Correct.
able to understand, oh yeah, it missed, thank. And that's the reason why editing is there. That's the reason why beta reading exists. That's the reason these things exist, because You need those revision, you need those multiple revisions, you need those multiple drafts of your novel. And
Correct.
if you don't go through it, even the advanced review copies and then the post publishing reviews, which we are currently doing in India, but a book has to go through so many
Yeah.
stages, and it's a big responsibility, whoever is doing this. That's how I look at it.
That's true. Um, okay, so we've talked about this, about keeping up with trends and the like, but how do writers keep up with it? How do writers make sure that they reach the right audiences? Because
Yeah.
sometimes we look for something on, say, Amazon or something, and we find a book, we end up reading it, and we end up really loving it also. But it hasn't reached many people, not many people have read it, and we wonder ki why have I not seen this book anywhere? This is so good. So what should writers do in order to reach more people, in order to, yeah,
Yeah.
to make sure that their book is read?
First of all, you have to write a good book. you know you cannot
True.
you cannot you cannot force feed a bad written book. And by bad
Correct.
written, I don't mean that it is bad in the sense of what the story is. It is just purely badly edited, badly thought. There is no plot structure, there is no strong
Correct.
character building. If you're writing a fiction, you have to know the craft, the skill of it, right? Tomorrow, if I want
Hmm.
to build a wardrobe, I need to know how to put a hole, how to put a nail, the basic skills of it, the basic language skills, the basic plot
Hmm.
consistency, character building, rules of fiction. I mean, every game has its rule, right? So even book writing has it. So
Correct.
first of all, you have to write a good book. I mean, a bad book cannot be marketed for a long time. That's
Correct.
my personal understanding. Secondly, you have to be visible. I mean, gone are the
Yeah.
days where authors can write and be immortal just by writing great books. Like, I don't think Hemingway or a Shakespeare had to do a book launch or a Instagram, but
Oh.
uh, and they could just write. People would follow. I think those days are gone. There are no these demigods of literature or writing, so to say. So you have to step out. You have to be a little bit shameless about promoting your work. You can't expect to
Great.
be discovered all the time. You have to put yourself out. And
Hmm.
that's what we are trying to do through Writers Melon. We are helping you to get your first 50 readers. So our pitch to an author or a publisher is: you are a new author. Your book is at best going to be read by your friends, family, neighbors, lovers, boyfriends, I don't know, spouse, your kids. What next? You need, and just by keeping your book on the bookshelves may not necessarily grant that okay, those books will be sold, because a bookshelf is a is a most ruthless or a competitive place to be in,
Correct.
right? There would be like the
Yeah.
world's best books out there in front of you. There would be a Michelle Obama's face on a book, and all the biggest faces on those books, or the biggest writers on those, and you're competing with that. So it's a big, so availability wouldn't ensure that your books are picked. You have to connect to the readers at a personal level. So all that you can do to connect with the readers, be it books, what do you say, the book festivals, the literature festivals, book launches, Instagram,
Social media.
Twitter, meeting the
Hmm.
chatting with the connecting them at a personal level. I still remember the difference between an author who's good at marketing versus an author who's just good at writing is that after a reader has reviewed his book or written about, or let's say interviewed you, that author would personally check with that reader, what do you do, or trying to build that personal connect with that author, with that reader, taking his or her review as a constructive feedback, as a suggestion, building
Hmm.
that community, which I think some authors have done fantastically well, and that too organically, very organically. All
Yeah.
these things does not need money. To build a
Correct.
connection, you don't need money every time. I mean, in the age of social media, you do need money for the impressions and those numbers. But the
Correct.
connection, for a connection, you don't need money all the time, right? You need to just
Hmm.
understand the motivation, the likes. If you are on the same platform, like if you're like minded, then you can build a connection. So for me, book marketing is about building that connection with the reader for an author. It is about being authentic, writing good books for,
First and
yeah,
foremost.
yeah. So these things are very important.
Hmm. PRP, what is your take? Like, as an editor, what advice would you give to a writer who's trying to get their book in front of audiences or readers?
See, especially in India right now, there's a lot of competition when it comes to writers. I mean, it's not that everyone's book is picked up by great publishers and marketed by the publishers. And secondly, with the ease of publishing, like you said, so there are more authors than readers at one point of time in India right now.
Correct.
So that's probably the case. So the first thing that a writer needs to do is, like PP said, get in touch with your readers.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you come to us, we'll get you the readers. We'll get your book reviewed by them. But what about after that? I mean, you need to still keep up with the readers. So, for an example, I'll tell you. Why do you think Neil Gaiman is so popular? I mean, he's not an Indian, I know, but he writes great books, fine. But if
Correct.
you see his Twitter, he replies personally to every person that replies to him, every tweet that's come to him, and he does that. Uh, I mean,
Agree.
he does that. It's not his PR. It's not his PR agency. It's not a team or something. He
Right.
does it personally.
Hmm.
That's what makes him more popular to his readers. I mean, he's greatly popular and he's a great writer. But then he didn't need to do it, right? But he does it out of his interest, and it appeals to his readers that, okay, I know if I share a photo of his book and I give some feedback, he'll reply to me. So that's the
Right.
thing, that's what a reader loves that too, that okay, the writer has appreciated my feedback of their book.
Yeah, I'm sure it
That's
gets
true.
tiring. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm sure it takes away a lot of time and effort and energy from writing itself.
yeah,
And a
Correct.
lot of authors may not like doing that. I mean, I think,
Hmm.
like I said, the
yeah,
readers, like the book lovers or the authentic book lovers and the writers are very introvert. They find their world in those books and in those pages.
100%.
So it might get very exhausting to all the time network and connect and talk, and it is exhausting. But then, unfortunately, that's what marketing is all about these days. And it
yeah.
cannot be just outsourced completely.
So unless you're writing under a pseudonym, you should make an appearance in public. You should
I don't
readers
even
should
know if
know
that
that who
that
you
is a
are.
thing anymore these days. I think it's
That
very,
is the thing with the few writers,
yeah,
yes, because some of them who work in the corporate and they write about
yeah,
corporate thrillers and secrets of the corporate, so they don't want readers to know
yeah,
their actual real names.
They
Those are
might get fired.
exceptions. Yeah, those are exceptions. So,
yeah,
but otherwise, if you're a normal writer, then just get in touch with your readers. That's the basic thing that you can do. I mean, everyone
Right.
has a smartphone and everyone has social media accounts.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's hard. I
Agreed.
mean, it's hard for
yeah,
the authors, but then you should see it's even hard for the readers. Like they are spoiled for choices. I mean,
yeah,
why would I go and pick up, let's say, my favorite author? One of my favorite authors is Rashmi Bansal, by the way. Why would I just go and pick up her book? Because I like her personally so much. She has always made an effort to connect with me at a personal level. That's why
Hmm.
whenever there is I'm one of our biggest cheerleaders. So I think that is the kind of connection that a lot of readers
yeah.
really like to have, especially the ones who are really evolved readers who read a lot of books. It's how the author is responding to them, or reacting to them, you know making them feel important. I think a lot of the times the
Correct.
readers are not given any importance, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, an author is popular because because of so many readers, right? So
Readers.
Yeah.
you have to give it to them, right? So
If you don't like social media, just put out your email ID. Your readers will
Yeah,
email you.
many authors,
It's like a
like,
fan
put out
letter,
their
right?
emails.
Yeah, it's like a fan letter. Like
Yeah.
people used to write to, the writers
Write
that they
letters to
liked. They
authors.
used to
Yeah.
write letters. Yeah, around 50 or 70 years ago, they used to write letters, and the writers would personally reply to them. I mean, I know a lot of Bengali writers who did that, and they had a huge fan base.
Yeah,
So
but
you could do that
and
with
now
email
writers
now.
also add their emails in the books. Like, if you
Yeah,
find it
yeah,
in the
yeah,
author's details
yeah.
sections towards the end of the book, they
yeah,
always have their email ID and say that if you have anything to share with me or
Hmm.
something, you can
yeah,
always write to
Yeah.
me at so and so so and so. So I think,
yeah.
yeah, I totally
But
agree.
all of this, I would say, is the second step or a secondary. The first thing, if you have decided to become a writer, if you want to write books, you have to learn
Read.
the skills. You have to learn the basic skills. You have to
Correct.
read a certain number of books on a regular basis. I think the ratio is 1 is to 100. I mean, if you're writing a 50,000 words book, you should have read at least 500 books. That's my math. Until
Right.
I have read 500 plus books, I wouldn't even dare to start writing a book. So those things are like very inherent unsaid things about marketing. You cannot sell a bad book. After a point, you cannot sell yourself as an author if you write bad books. It's very difficult.
That's the basic, like
It's
that's
a
a
basic.
basic thing that we need to
It's
remember.
basic.
Amazing. Okay, so since we started off this interview by asking PP about how she started Writers Melon, I'll end with a question to PP. I'll ask you about your advice to women who are trying to build a business on the internet. What would your advice be?
First of all, don't do it if you're not really passionate about it. It's really
Okay.
crazy. I mean, really, really, really exhausting, really crazy.
Hmm.
Figure out your finances first, because if you are not taking care of your finances, you cannot survive, you cannot last after a point. So number one is, you have to be really crazy and passionate about the idea that you want to really take forward. And every idea has its potential, small, big. You have to, at some point, you have to realize how big it can become. You have to be realistic about it. I mean, we know that in today's era, maybe a fashion or a Bollywood or a travel segment would be much more lucrative than doing something in the publishing space, right?
Right.
It
It's
is
true.
just having a realistic picture. So do your market research, network, like, really, 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 really proactively. Because to run any business, I mean, why are certain business communities in India are so successful? Because they have a very, very strong community. They help each other, they
Hmm.
support each other. Don't look at another business only as a competitor, only as somebody who's there to steal your ideas or steal your business. And that zero sum game that we have in our mind. Capitalism is not that. It's not a zero sum game. More the competition, more the people doing that work, means that there is so much of opportunity. So I have this mindset where I find every competition as a potential collaborator, every
Right.
challenge as a potential opportunity to scale, a potential opportunity to learn a new platform, to learn a new skill, even if it is just for my personal growth, even if the business is not getting a massive benefit out of it. I take it as a learning for my personal growth. So never, you cannot do, be it any career, it's not just business. Even if you have a regular job, you cannot grow if you do not have a learning mindset. If you are not ready to learn a new thing, a new skill, a new platform, a new software, or a new way of doing things, if you're not ready to learn and reinvent yourself every other day, you'll not be able to survive. You will become a passe very soon. So these would be
Right.
some of my very, basic, humble advice of whatever merit it has. Is
Powerful too.
this
Yeah.
is that, and I mean, just be shameless about it, and just don't have so much, I mean, just you can't have these reservations or this self doubt, or I mean, those things do come a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't say that we are completely past that phase. That will come for every human being, it's there. But then, how do you overcome that and still show up every day? I think showing up every day is such a powerful thing. I mean, even if you don't feel like, the days you feel like and you're motivated and you're showing up is fine, is granted, right? But the days when you're not motivated but you still show up are the days, or are the steps, which would make a difference. That just
Also,
show up.
choose the right people to motivate you.
I don't know
Agree.
if she
That is
means
also
that I am the
important.
wrong person.
We do it periodically with each other.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. First of all, Thank you, both of you, for agreeing to do this interview. And I've learned so much in this. Oh, we've gone past the 1 hour mark by this point. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I can say in this 1.5 hour, I've learned a lot, and I hope that whoever's been watching, they've also learned a lot. We got one particular comment about the favorite book to movie adaptations.
Ah, Charlie and
Mm,
Chocolate Factory, yes.
Nice. Yeah. Stuart Little,
Green Mile,
yes.
Stuart Little, yes.
Stuart Little was an amazing movie. Yeah.
I
Good
haven't
ones.
I haven't read any of these, and I haven't watched any of these also.
I've done the first and the second,
Yeah.
Nikita and
Completely.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and
Acha.
Yeah. I've also
those are
read
some of
Stuart
the
Little.
very interesting movies.
Right.
Yeah. I just haven't read The Green Mile because I don't read horror as such. So,
Yeah, the first two I've read.
That's disturbing, I've heard, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. I haven't watched the movie as well. So,
Yeah.
it's not my
Yeah.
genre.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed this, Ayushi. You were super excited for this. But yeah, we had a great live session. Thank you so much for
Yeah. Thank you
coming.
for having
Thank you
us.
so much for joining, and thank you for answering every question that I thought of under the sun. Even though you were like एक घंटे से ज़्यादा होगा, but you did very patiently answer all of my questions. A big thank you for that. Uh, so yeah, about the announcement that I was going to make towards the end of the session. You'll have to wait a little longer because it's not going to. I mean, it'll take me more than 10-15 minutes to talk about it because I'm really excited to make that announcement. So maybe you'll see it in a coffee talk video that I will make during this coming week. So yeah, as of now, I'll just say ki thank you, PP, thank you, PRB, for coming, and thank you to everyone who joined and for watching this live session.
Thanks a
See
lot.
you on
Thanks a
the
lot
other
for
Thank
end.
having us.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it was fun.
Sonali.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye.
bye.